cinema. Created by she, her, continued by he, him. How we doing out there? Good, great, grand, and wonderful. As you see on your screen, your dial. However you are joining me today, I thank you. I'm trying to be more positive, so I'm not going to talk about how I don't want to be here, because that's actually a lie in this particular case. Most cases, I don't want to be there. This one, not so. If I am going to have a movie podcast, well, I should talk about fucking one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. God damn it. Wouldn't you? As you see on your screen, your dial. Last Night in Soho. Ah, I love Edgar Wright. Last Night in Soho, starring Thomasin McKenzie, Anya Taylor-Joy, Anya, take a drink, Taylor-Joy, what was that, Queen's Gambit? Matt Smith, who was haunting, Michael Ajao, either way, take a drink. Terence Stamp and Diana RIgg, and I believe Diana RIgg, this was her last performance on screen. The very talented Diana RIgg, who was really good. So I'm just going to be straightforward with you. I'm not going to talk about the film a whole lot. Just going to kind of gush about things here and there. Why? Because no spoilers for this one. It's out in theaters right now, or you can rent it. I went and saw it in the theater like a gentleman, because you have to. If it's one of your faves, you have to. And I cannot tell you how much of a joy is, well, sometimes jarring. In this case, it was jarring. When you don't, for new listeners, people tuning in for the first time, I don't watch trailers to movies, ever. If you tell me Edgar Wright's making a film, I will go see an Edgar Wright film. If you tell me Tom Hardy is going to star in a film, I will go see that movie. Leo, all right, I'll be there. Scorsese, okay. Coen Brothers, all right, they quit. Did they quit? Is it official? They quit. That's a bummer. Whoever. I don't watch trailers. So I thought that I guess I was, in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm going to go see something, have a couple of laughs. Have a couple of laughs, will you? Oh, not so. Thomasin McKenzie, who plays Eloise, well, she's from a small town, farm town. And she goes to the big city because she gets a fashion designer scholarship. And apparently there's some little hints before she leaves that mom may have went out there. Eloise's mom, Ellie's mom, went out there, and she never came back. I don't feel good about telling you that. To me, it's spoiling a piece of the puzzle, and a puzzle it was in this psychological horror thriller written by Edgar Wright and Krysty Wilson-Cairns. Cairns, take a drink. Cairns, and the story by Edgar Wright. Amazing cinematography from Chun-hoon Chung. But Ellie, your mom went out there, and grandmama is saying it's just there's weird undertones before she leaves to go to London for the fashion designer scholarship. And some of those undertones are like, hey, we may not need like a repeat thing going on now. If it gets too much, come back home. Well, starts out really well. Minus her shitty roommate, Jacosta, I think her name is. I don't even know how to say it. Jacosta. But she's a shit roommate. On campus, when she's staying on campus in the dormitories, it's just not for her. She's lost in her music in her 60s, 70s. I should know better. The soundtrack was amazing, but a couple of them were fresh to me. I'm not a big classic rock guy. I can be, like if it's used. I'm such a fucking piece of shit. Like if it's used in a film, I can identify with it more than like if you were just like, here, listen to this song. I know, I'm the worst. But it helps. But I'm not a big classic rock guy, and This one is, as in most of his films, his utilization of not only sound design, sound effects, then therefore, but also the soundtrack. And in this one, no different. And used in, what I would argue, is in some imaginative ways. The soundtrack. Yes. But perfectly executed. Where are we talking? Oh, yeah, she's in London. But like a prime scene of her not fitting in is, so there's this big party in the art house dormitories, and that's like amongst all the dorm rooms, and she's just sitting with her headphones on, wrapped in a blanket, not mingling with anyone. So she just doesn't like it there. So she moves off campus. This sweet old lady. What's this lass's name? What's the lady's name? Diana RIgg's character's name. Go on now. Let me find it now. Ms. Collins. She moves off campus in Ms. Collins' little loft that she has, and it's very quaint. It's very quaint. In fact, at this point, I still was like, all right, so we haven't had a lot of humor yet, because I had no idea what I was in store for. Edgar Wright was making a film, all right, and okay, and then it just spirals. It's just it is one thing after another, superbly written, superbly executed by not only the cast and crew. I thought Anya was just as good as Thomasin. I thought that they played off each other well, and you'll know what I mean when you see it, like in terms of or how their story, I shouldn't say play off each other, how their stories were woven together is just it's really good. I thought very inventive and adventurous undertaking by the visual effects crew and the cinematography. I thought we took some huge risks, and I thought that they paid off, even though, like, I thought it was new. Like, I thought we were seeing something that we hadn't seen before. And Edgar Wright's just a goddamn good filmmaker. He makes these films. I would argue, let me think about this let me think on air for you before I say what I'm about to say. Oh, you got Scorsese. Those are good. Coen Brothers, high rewatch value. Yeah. Yep. You know what? I'm going to say I would put Edgar Wright has made, if not the most rewatchable films in the past 2 decades, then top 3 or 4. Top 3 to 5. The attention to detail for every film that he makes, starting from Shaun of the Dead. I mean, to me, because I'm odd, and it was around my time. To me, Shaun of the Dead is not only one of the best movies of all time, but one of the most rewatchable movies of all time. I would lump that in there with, a Jaws or a fucking, I don't know, Godfather, that sort of thing, where you can watch it over. But different, I don't even feel like Godfather. Yes, Godfather's a great movie, but like, even Baby Driver, Hot Fuzz, at World's End, Baby Driver, there's this, you can rewatch. In fact, I feel ashamed to say this. Sometimes my brain's not fast enough to catch all the cool shit that he's doing. And what I mean by Edgar Wright, in which he tells a story. I can't keep up. So sometimes in the theater, I know that I'm seeing these awesome, maybe homages or what have you, and I'm like, but the story, I can't, and now, like in all his films, I can't wait to own it so that I can be like, okay, pause, freeze frame, pause, there we go, all right, pick that up, cool. But anyway, the cast I thought was so strong, like even haunting. Matt Smith was. And as far as Michael, I'm going to take a drink now. Michael Ajao, some of this, so he, as it were, and I use this lightly, as it were, Michael Ajao's character, who was Michael? John, he love interest with Eloise, played by Thomasin McKenzie, and the one of the sequences that Thomasin and Michael have with each other is very uncomfortable, and it's very bizarre too. Like, as a man, it would be so haunting if that were to happen. And, you know, if these two aren't listening, but if they were, it was uncomfortable, right? Like, especially, like, you got to be on your A game for this particular scene. And was not expecting it, and executed perfectly by it was chilling in the way it was presented to us. The sequence when they go back to Ms. Collins's house. Ms. Collins. And Anya Taylor-Joy, the heartbreaking tale of her. Did she die? We don't know. And then I think a lot of you would call it an M. Night Shyamalan twist. Shyamalan. And you have a movie podcast. Why can't you say it? Because I'm trash. It was. I didn't think I really was thinking it too deep into, or pretty deep into the film. I had question marks, but they weren't big ones. And when the end does take place, and there's two endings really, but and both good. Edgar Wright does it again. That's what I say. Edgar and Krysty. I thought the script was, everything was so sharp. In fact, you could make some argument in terms of, if we were talking from a critical standpoint, because I know Shaun of the Dead's not for everyone. I know Hot Fuzz isn't for everyone, especially like if you don't get the references of Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz or World's End, then some of the jokes will fall flat on you. I mean, I showed Shaun of the Dead to a bunch of 20-year-olds that don't watch movies all that often. Like, this is not their thing, and like, it still played well, but like, not to someone like me. Like, there's no comparison. Like, I was just, in my mind, I'm like, oh my god, they're missing everything that's happening right now. I could never show them the Cornetto trilogy because they wouldn't give a fuck. I show them Hot Fuzz, they don't know what fucking Point Break is. They don't give a shit. And that's fine. That's fine, just so we're clear. I'm not bashing, that's fine if you don't know what in the sky is. That's fine. If you don't, you don't know Keanu firing a couple of rounds up in the sky. If you don't know, that's fine. It's all good. But I was there for a particular group. He took 5 minutes to say. And just circling back, I think Last Night in Soho is a more traditional film, but I don't know, it's hard to say because it's not at all. We broke some boundaries here. We took some risk. We went for it all. Ambitious. I said adventurous earlier, and I meant to say ambitious. I am a piece of garbage. In fact, I'm such a piece of garbage. I have 24 movies that I'm obligated to talk about, and I am under no obligation to talk about Last Night in Soho. And here we are. Here we are, because I had to. Like, even if I think this podcast is fucking stupid as shit, if I'm going to continue to have one, well, on some fucking occasion, I'm going to have to talk about the movies that I want to talk about. And thankfully, I got to talk about Dune yesterday or the day before, whenever the fuck. And I think I even mentioned on that podcast, it was just nice to... it's just different. There was a minute there where I was not having fun watching movies. I'm still not, to a certain degree, but sometimes when I watch, movies like these, I go, oh yeah, that's right. That I remember why I fucking love watching films. Like No Time to Die and shit. All right, that's cool. I should talk about No Time to Die, if for nothing else, because I'm not a James Bond fan, and I don't know. Whatever. It's not my. Casino Royale was okay, and Spectre was okay. Whatever. But I did like No Time to Die for sure. Thought that was fucking awesome. So I should just do it on that merit alone. But I probably won't because I'm a lazy piece of shit. But I just realized, like, oh, this is for, well, one, my time has passed, and two, if you are not a fan of film, you don't get the shit, and I don't think that's the case. I know what I was getting at. I don't think that's the case with Last Night in Soho. I do think the rewatch value is high, much like the other ones. Well, maybe not near as much as the other ones, because the other ones are comedy, and this one's just flat out like uncomfortable, and it doesn't. I mean, it's bittersweet. The ending's bittersweet as fuck, depending on how you look at it. Or if maybe you just think it's fucking all trash because you don't identify with anyone, which is that's fine. I could see this movie not being for everyone. Fucking stick to your F9s. That's fine. Your Fast and Furious 9. Sorry that Last Night in Soho wasn't Fast and Furious 9. Fucking. I think I'm bitter like that because my surroundings, that is the majority. That is where I live. That is the people that if I say Last Night in Soho, they say what? If I say Fast and Furious 9, they go, oh yeah, pretty good, man, pretty good. or I do Twitch, which again, fine, but it seems to be one extreme or the other in my neck of the woods. That it's kind of a bummer. So, but anyway, Last Night in Soho is playing right now, and you can rent it. You can rent it right now and see what I thought is just as it. That's another thing too. Last Night in Soho is so fucking good for what it's trying to be. It's a trippy fucking psychological horror film. It's so goddamn good for what it is. People keep on saying every year, like, I feel at least maybe it's just me. I don't know, but I don't internet that much, and when I do get on the internet, people just there's just a lot of negativity, and I just hear how movies are going to be shit every year, and that's never the case. I see so many good films year in and year out, and they're so worth taking your time on. Like, fucking, I don't know. Like, this needs to be seen in the theater, and if you don't want to see it in the theater, at least fucking rent it. Give it the money. Give everybody who made it the money, because I thought it ruled. And again, element of surprise is everything for me. I didn't know I was walking into that, and fuck, I walked out of there like, well, I thought I was gonna have this happy-go-lucky fucking, and I was not. I was told a nice tale. I was told a tear tale, and a good one at that. I'm trying to recollect some of the horror films that have come out this year that were really good, and yeah, it's a horror film, I guess. I mean, it's horror-ish. It has horror elements for sure. Of course, yeah, it's a horror film. Kind of, yeah, maybe. I don't know. To me, it's more of a thriller, I think. Not that it matters, but see this film. Thomasin McKenzie, Anya Taylor-Joy, Matt Smith, the haunting pimp. Those sequences so fucking, Edgar, you're not listening, but if you were, fuck, those sequences were so, just uncomfortable and just, I don't know, perfect for the dream sequences, or as it were. So good. So good. And Matt Smith in those sequences, haunting. Haunting. Terence Stamp. Oh, Jesus. We can't get out of here without mentioning Terence Stamp. The great Terence Stamp. His, I must say, I was super surprised at his character turn, or at least what he is or what he was. But just to have him in your film, that's one, awesome. Two, he's just so good. The sequences that he had with Thomasin McKenzie, just so good. And throws you off the trail. So convincing he was. Throws you off the trail of with theatricalities and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated. But we are initiated, aren't we, Bruce? And it was a good curveball. Not Shalaman twist. It was a good curveball. I thought it was going to be high and inside, and that was not the case. It was in the dirt, and I went fishing. People still sports. People that listen to this show still sports ball. All right. I should probably 20's good. I feel kind of bad that I'm not doing the films that I should be doing, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Last Night in Soho, playing everywhere, and you can rent it. And you can fucking rent it. But don't see it in the theater. Oh boy. Ellis Cinema. Last Night in Soho, now playing. Thomasin McKenzie, Anya Taylor-Joy, Matt Smith, Michael Ajao, Terence Stamp, Diana RIgg, Chun-hoon Chung, Krysty, Wilson-Cairns, Edgar Wright, visual effects, soundtrack killer. Doesn't get any better. For what this is, it doesn't get any better. Sharp as they come. Last Night in Soho.